بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وقدوتنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم. اللهم أعلمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everybody, welcome to beginning classical Arabic, moving right along with plurals. So, whereas the previous lesson we were talking about how gender manifests across different parts of speech, right? We said that with asma, which is loosely translated as nouns, manifests the feminine gender with a ta marbuta, whereas in verbs, the feminine gender manifests with a ta maftuha, right? We said like, or even a better example would be طالبة, right? Instead of طالب, طالبة, and then ذهبت. And in both of these cases, the ta marbuta, which is the sign of nouns manifesting feminine gender, whereas with verbs, it was the ta maftuha, which demonstrates the feminine gender. Okay, and now we're in the plural, and we're going to see very, very similar things. So when it comes to nouns, we talked about the different sorts of ways to manifest the plural or indicate the plural, right? If it's sound masculine, it's going to be un. If it's sound feminine, it's going to be at. And if it's a broken plural, it's going to be something different. Those were for asma, for nouns. Now we're getting into verbs, right? And how it's going to look in the past tense to demonstrate plural is with, instead of dhahaba, we're going with dhahabu, right? We're talking about now conjugation in earnest, right? So this is our device in the Arabic language, which demonstrates plural in past tense verbs. Dhahaba, sorry, I got my finger here on camera. Where is it here? Dhahaba, singular, dhahabu, plural, right? Fa'ala, singular, fa'alu, plural. Kataba, singular, katabu, plural. Qara'a, singular, qara'u, plural, etc., etc., etc. This is all within form 1, right? Form 1 verbs. Good. So that is what we are working on today. We are looking more closely now at how number manifests in verbs. So we have اقرأ المثال ثم حول الجمل الآتية مثله. Okay, so read. This is a command in form 1. اقرأ, you should be familiar with Surah Al-Alaq. اقرأ المثال. We have to add the kasra in order to bridge the gap between the two letters that have sukun. Mithal is an example. Thumma is a preposition. If you're looking for, this is actually very, very useful. I'll just introduce it since it's in the instructions. Conjunctions, okay? So there's 3 conjunctions you absolutely need to know in Arabic. And they are on a spectrum of time, right? Waw, or wa, I should say. Fa, and then thumma. Okay, so all of these exist on a spectrum of time. Waw means and, right? And it also means that something is happening at the same time. So if I say ja'a is a verb that means to come, or he came. Ja'a Muhammadun wa Ahmad. It means that Muhammad and Ahmad came, and because I used waw, it implies that they came at the same time, right? If I say Ja'a Muhammadun fa Ahmadu, if I use fa in place of the waw and fa connects, then this means right after, okay, as far as the spectrum of time goes. And then if I use جاء محمد ثم أحمد, ثم means then, and it communicates later. I should, yeah, both fa, I should qualify. Both fa and thumma communicate the idea of then. However, there's a difference because fa indicates immediately after, and thumma indicates later. And this is all over the Quran. You guys have probably noticed thumma. Okay, so that's just a brief aside. Hawil, we talked about that. That's a form 2 command from hawala, yuhawwilu, hawil. Al-jumala, jumala is the plural of jumlatun, which is a sentence. Okay. Where am I at here? Jumlatun is a sentence. And then jumal is the plural of that. And obviously it's a broken plural. Al-atiyata mithlahu. The atiyata is following. Mithlahu is just like it. We'll get into that later. So here's the example. Mithal. At-talibu. What type of, this is good. They're smart. MashaAllah. The author of this book has left no stone unturned. Perhaps you recall that last class we said that in Arabic, if you have a jumla fi'liya, if you have a sentence that begins with a verb, that you are going to have a singular verb, no matter if the subject is singular or plural. So if we take this example, الطالب ذهب إلى المطعم, and then here, what they want you to do to all the examples, الطلاب ذهبوا إلى المطعم. If I were to make this a jumla fi'liya, then I would use ذهب الطلاب, even though الطلاب is plural. This is part of the Arabic language. It's considered eloquent. I've even heard some people say it's incorrect to say ذهبوا الطلاب. So the author is aware of this, mashallah tabarakallah, and so he changes it from a jumla fi'liya to a jumla ismiya. He starts not with ذهب ذهبوا, but he starts with الطلاب, which is the way of avoiding this. Okay, so once you start with, if it is a jumla ismiya, then you must conjugate the verb to agree with the actual literal number of the subject. Yes, Musarrat, your question?
So it is the present of a verb. Why isn't it a jumla fi'liya? I don't understand. Is it necessary that a jumla fi'liya always begins?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I hear a lot of machine noise.
Okay, sorry. I'm just wondering why wouldn't it be a jumla fi'liya if the verb, if once there's a verb in the sentence, isn't it already a verbal sentence? Is there a rule that it has to begin? Because you said the order doesn't matter.
That's true. It's half true, right? So, for example, okay, let's take this sentence. Let me erase everything I wrote so far. Okay. So, a verbal sentence. Okay, let's make this into a verbal sentence. If we said ذهب الطلاب that's my excuse for a ta إلى المطعم. Okay, etc. What are my options here as a jumla fi'liya? My options here, this is the default syntax of a jumla fi'liya. Fi'l, fa'il, and then maf'ul, which in this case is a prepositional phrase, ila al-mat'ami. Okay. I am not strictly bound to that order, right? If I want to emphasize if we've been talking about the tulab, that's not in doubt, but we want to emphasize where they went. Okay? I could say إلى المطعم ذهب الطلاب. Right? Somebody comes and they say that ذهب الطلاب إلى السوق. Oh no, the students have left class and they went to the souk. Said no, that's not right. إلى المطعم ذهب الطلاب. Is that the no, they didn't leave the school. They went to the cafeteria.
And you said ذهبت?
No, I clipped off because I have to bridge it into the tha because the tha is
okay.
A good catch. Yeah, so ذهب الطلاب, right? So I'm running it into the tha, right? Which shows you how difficult it can be to discern exactly what's being said in quickly spoken Arabic, right? So in that case, I can put the maf'ul in front if I want to emphasize that, no problem, right? However, if I put the subject before the verb, this is more than just rearranging a jumla fi'liya. This is something that is, if it's going to be dhahabu, then it's clearly a jumla ismi. Okay, we have, let's see here, this is the mubtada, at-tullabu, dhahabu ila al-mat'ami is the khabar. Yes, it's possible that a khabar can be a jumla fi'liya, right? So when it comes to dhahab at-tullabu, right, ila al-mat'ami, if I wanted to keep it a jumla fi'liya, I could have ila ta'ami dhahab at-tullabu. Could I say at-tullabu dhahaba ila al-mat'ami? And that technically be a jumla fi'liya in which I've just chopped it up and reordered the words? Possibly. I don't understand what purpose it would serve, except for because we don't, in Arabic we would not emphasize at-tullab by putting it forward. We would use something else like dhahaba. We would probably use a subject pronoun to emphasize that, like dhahaba at-tullabu hum, or dhahaba hum at-tullabu ila al-mat'ami. But the fact that I see that this is conjugated for the plural tells me that it's a jumla ismi, right? At-tullabu, and in which case this is the mubtada, at-tullabu dhahabu ila al-mat'ami is the khabar, and the khabar is a jumla fi'liya. You still have a question, Musarrat?
Yeah, I still don't understand it. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand why the verb wouldn't match the subject.
Yes. Okay. Well, okay. Let me try to put it this way. When we communicated that there's default syntaxes or default word order for both the jumla ismiya and the jumla fi'liya. Okay. So the default word order for a jumla ismiya is mubtada and then khabar. Okay. And there's conditions and techniques for, or I should say reasons, that would either make it optional or necessary to rearrange those, right? Rearranging them means something, okay? Right? It's not just like willy-nilly. Okay, and the same thing for the jumla fi'liya. The default word order is verb, subject, object, going right to left. Okay. Now, the same thing, that word order is important, and we don't divert from it unless we're intending to communicate something intentional, right? So if we are going to move up the object to the front, then this is intentional in order to clarify a doubt or to correct a false assumption about the object, right? If we wanted to stress the subject or emphasize the subject in a jumla fi'liya, what I'm trying to say is that in Arabic, that's not done by moving the subject to the front of the sentence, right? That's done through other means, usually with the addition of usually with the addition of a subject pronoun in addition to the actual subject written out as a common noun or a proper noun. Right? So moving the subject in front of the verb in a jumla fi'liya is not a recognized technique of emphasis within Arabic. Does that make any sense? There's other ways to emphasize the subject that are used. And so if a subject comes first, it almost always indicates a jumla ismiya. Now, the question as to why doesn't the verb in a jumla fi'liya agree to the literal number of the subject, I mean, I don't know exactly. You would have to ask a historian of the language, but I am guessing that it just has to do with simplicity, right? And because Arabic does not like redundancy. And so if you have, for example, ذهب الطلاب, you've already communicated the idea of the verb, and then the subject clarifies for you precisely how many people are doing it, right? So it would be, perhaps it's seen as redundant to say ذهبوا الطلاب, right? But I don't know. Any other questions, comments about syntax, jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya? Here, we're using jumla ismiya. It's mubtada khabar, and that's how they get away with asking you to conjugate the verb in the past tense for the plural form, right? ذهب ذهبوا. So that's what you're going to do here. You're going to الطالب ذهب إلى المطعم الطلاب ذهبوا إلى المطعم. And مطعم is the cafeteria. I think we talked about that before. طعم is the root. That means food or to eat. And al-mat'am on the pattern of naf'al is the place where food is, right? The place of food. And so that's why it's the cafeteria. Okay. So all of that, and we only have 3 exercises for this. So let's start with Muhammad Mu'tasim.
الطالب جلس في الفصل.
Good.
جلسوا الطلاب
Good.
جلسوا في الفصل.
Excellent. Very good. Jalasa 2, or I should say الطالب 2, الطلاب jalasa 2, jalasu. Good. Sister Musarrat, number 2.
المدرس خرج من المدرسة من المدرسة no من المدرسة I think it's مدرس no, I forgot.
It's okay. Let's think about it. Is it sound masculine plural, sound feminine plural, or broken plural?
It is sound masculine.
Correct. So it would be
مدرسون.
Yes.
Okay. So المدرسون خرجوا من المدرسة.
Yes. Very good. Okay. Excellent. And number 3, we have Sister Sahaf.
التاجر ذهب إلى السوق. Maybe like التجار.
Good.
ذهبوا
Good.
إلى السوق.
Yep. Fantastic. Right. التاجر becomes التجار, and ذهب becomes ذهبوا. Very good. The author doesn't place a ton of importance on this point, because normally, if you're going to have a verb in the sentence, this is an unnatural sounding formation in Arabic. Like Sister Musarrat was pointing out, most Arabs are just going to use, they're going to use jumla fi'liya. They're not going to use a jumla ismiya with a khabar that's jumla fi'liya. That feels a little bit awkward or unnatural, which is why I think the author made this a very, very short exercise. But it proves a point, and it gets you to start conjugating in the third person plural, which is good. Iqra waktub. Okay, we'll just read here. I'll leave you to write on your own. Good, 16, that's a nice long exercise. Okay, we'll go on to next to the Sheikh family. Number 1.
الطلاب في الفصل.
Fantastic. Let's translate since we're just doing reading. What does that mean?
The students are in the classroom.
Very good. Right. So check out how you know that if it's a jumla ismiya, there's going to be this idea of is or are, right? And so the line between the mubtada and the khabar communicates is or are. We don't have that word in Arabic, but الطلاب في الفصل, the students are in the classroom. Good. Dr. Zia, if you're there, number 2.
من هؤلاء الأولاد
Good.
هم أبناؤك لا هم أبناء أخي.
Fantastic. And what does that mean?
Who are these children?
Are they yours?
Are they yours? No, they are my brothers.
Yes. Very good. And number 3, Brother Tamim.
من هؤلاء الناس
Good.
هم حجاج من تركيا.
Very good.
So who are those people?
Uh-huh.
And they are pilgrims from Turkey.
Fantastic. To be very technical, haula, it would be these, not those. But in English, it sounds unnatural to say, who are these people? We would probably say those. And this is really funny because when you're on Hajj, for those of you who have been on Hajj, the Turkish pilgrims are very distinct, right? They usually have big groups and they're all very organized and in a formation. And so this is a very accurate question and response. Number 4, Sister Musarrat.
أين التجار ذهبوا إلى السوق? Where are the businessmen? They have gone to the market.
Very good. Brother Muhammad Mu'tasim, number 5.
من هؤلاء وهؤلاء الرجال
Good.
هم the youth.
Good. Buyufun. What does that mean?
Who are these men? They are the youth. Old?
Buyuf is the plural of daif, and daif is guest. So buyuf, they are guests.
Yes. They're guests.
Very good. Number 6.
الفلاحون في الحقول وأبناؤهم في المدرسة.
Oh, look at that. Ya salam. This is some deep sentence right here. Okay. Huqul is the plural of haqal. Haqal is a field. I don't believe we've had that word before. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we did. Haqlun. Right. So look at this. The hardworking parents. Go ahead. Translate that for us.
The farmers are in the field. أبناؤهم. And the sons
Mm-hmm.
are in the school.
Yes. Again, look at that. Working hard, and hopefully the new generation gets an education. Number 7. Sheikh family.
أين الطلاب الجدد بعضهم في الفصل وبعضهم عند المدير.
Very good. And we hope that they're not in trouble, but we hope that this is maybe they got a reward or something. So what does this mean?
Where are the new students? Some are in the classroom and some are in the principal's office.
Yes, very good. Okay, number 8, Sister Asma.
أمامي تجار كبار.
Fantastic,
So-
very good. What's that mean?
أمامي. Is it my uncles?
Yes,
No.
my paternal uncle.
My paternal uncle, the merchants they're big merchants.
Yep.
Or they're
Very good. Yep. Goes to a'mam. This is a really good tajweed exercise because the hamza and the ayn are both pronounced in the throat. And so it is difficult to distinguish between the hamza and the ayn. A'mam, right? You have a lot of people conflate the hamza and the ayn. Good. Number 9, Brother Tamim.
هؤلاء إخوتي. These are my sisters.
Ikhwati is sisters or brothers? What's the plural of akh and what's the plural of ukht? This is difficult. No one feel bad. And it's difficult and it's counterintuitive. So the plural of akh is ikhwa,
Okay.
right? Oh, but there's more than one plural. Maybe more familiar to you is ikhwan, right? Ikhwan and Muslimin, stuff like that, right? Ikhwan is also a plural of akhun, but also a plural is ikhwatun. And this is, if you look at it, it has a tamarbuta. It looks like a feminine word, right? So you're definitely using your noggin. Like, this is a very reasonable thing to think that this is feminine, but this is actually the masculine plural. Whereas the plural of ukhtun, I don't believe that we've learned it yet, is akhawat. And then when you look at that, it's like, oh, look at that. It has alif ta, which is definitely an unambiguous feminine form. The tamarbuta is somewhat an ambiguous feminine form because there are some masculine words with the tamarbuta, right? Like Hamza, Usama, Ubaida, etc., etc. But pretty much anytime you see alif ta, it's much less ambiguously feminine. So akhun, ikhwatun, ukhtun, akhawatun. Very good. Number 10, back up to Sister Musarrat.
أين بناؤك يا علي؟
حمزة
لا يا
حمزة
sorry.
الوصل وحمزة القطع.
أين أبناؤك يا علي؟ علي. يا هم في الدكان.
Yes.
Where are your sons? Ali. Oh, Ali. They are in this shop store.
Yes, very good. So dukkan, I don't think it's been a while since we've seen that word. Dukkan is the shop or the store. A couple little really important things here with phonetics. I'm glad that we came across this. So notice that the ibn is one of those words that shifts from hamzatul wasl in the singular to Hamzat al-qata' in the plural from ibn. So if you have ayna ibnu, right? We've been used to saying ayna abna'u, right? So this is a Hamzat al-qata'. We're going to pronounce it like a Hamza, etc., etc. And then we have ya aliyu instead of aliyun, because anything with a tanween loses its tanween if it's part of this kind of vocative particle, ya and nida, if it's the munada. Ya aliyu. Very good. Number 11.
Now, one question, is that
Yeah.
only sons or can you say children?
Abna'u is sons because it's the plural of ibn, and whereas walad, awlad can be used for both, as far as I'm aware. Right? So awlad, I believe, would be used for children. Yeah. Whereas if you're being specific, it would be ibn, abna, bint, banat. And that's another example of a unambiguous feminine ending, banat, from bint, though it is a broken plural and not a sound feminine plural. Good question. Okay, so now we're on to Muhammad Mu'tasim, number 11.
الطلاب كبار كبار في الملعب في الملعب والطلاب صغار في الفصل.
Very good.
The
Now, lam, just let me interject for 1 second. Lam ayn ba is to play. Is to play. La'aba is to play. So the mal'ab is the playground. The place of play, literally. Just like mat'am. Good. So go ahead and you can translate it.
This the small students are in the playground, and the big students are in the classroom.
Correct, except for switch it around. Kibar is the big ones, and sigar is the small ones. Sigar. So the older students are at the playground, and the younger students are in the classroom. And notice how Brother Muhammad Mu'tasim, he corrected himself. He wanted to initially say Tulabul Kibbar, right, with the shadda on the ba, right, because we have Allah's name Al-Jabbar, right, Al-Qahhar, but this is not the same phonetic pattern. Al-Kibar is with no shadda on the middle letter, and it is different because the first letter, the fa of the word, in this case kaf, has a kasra instead of a fatha. So he fixed that. He felt it out. Good. Next, Sister Saha, number 12.
هؤلاء الفتية إخوة
Good.
أبوهم إمام أبوهم إمامي هذا المسجد.
Oh, very good. So translate that first, and then we'll break this down. This is a nice sentence.
فتية, those young girls.
Okay.
No.
What's ikhwatun? Is ikhwatun, what does ikhwatun mean?
Oh, it's for, sorry, is it for masculine?
That's right. So then this is not girls, but
young boys.
That's right. And so we have, this is a plural form with a tamarbuta. So this proves the point we were just saying earlier, where the tamarbuta is slightly ambiguous sometimes. You'll find, so we have al-fata, which is singular, young men, and al-fityatu is the plural of that.
Oh, okay. So,
okay, and ikhwatun is the dead giveaway because ikhwatun is, they are brothers, right?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Abuhum, their father is the imam in the masjid. No.
Oh.
Abuhum imam hadha al-masjidi.
Very good. Yeah. So what does that mean?
Imam. one second. أبوهم إمام. Their father.
Yes.
هذا المسجد. In this masjid, he is the imam.
Okay. Where is, okay, this masjid? Where's the word in?
Oh yeah, there's no fee. أبوهم إمام. Their father is imam. I don't know.
That's okay. No, this is good. So we need to ask ourselves, okay, let's break this down. This is Jumla Ismiya Fi'liya.
جملة اسمية.
Yes, very good. So here's our mubtada. Okay, here's our khabar. All right. Our khabar is a series of asma, right? These are nouns. What is the relationship between imam and hadha al-masjidi? Is it sifa mawsuf? Is it mudaf mudaf ilay? Is it, right? And we can think through English in this particular case. It's not a big deal. I asked you the question, where's the in? Because that's the hint to the answer. There is no word for in here. So how do we translate this into English? He's the imam. We can't say he's imam this masjid, right? That's literally what, if you're just going to run the words together, that's what it looks like. But we're missing something. So in English, what is it trying to say?
Imam.
What's the relationship between the masjid and the imam? To say in would to say location, right? Which we don't have. We don't have feet. Okay. What relationship does an imam have to a masjid? Anyone want to help her out?
Yeah, it's he's the imam. Sorry, what? Their father. Oh, sorry, someone else.
It's okay. I think you both were about to say the same thing at the same time. Of is the word we would use in English, right? He's the imam of the masjid. Ah, good. So if it's the imam of the masjid, what's the relationship here between the masjid and the imam?
Mudaf, mudaf ilayhi.
Yes, it's possession, or literally ikhtisas, which is like exclusivity, or he's specific to, but linguistically, mudaf mudaf ilay, which means that, Sister Sahar, going back to Sister Sahar, what is going to be at the end of imam? Is it going to be imamu, imami, imama?
أبوهم إمام. إمامي? No.
Why? Remember that the default is khabar, it's khabar, so the default is dhamma until there's a reason to make it kasra. So what's the reason? Or is there a reason?
I don't know. I can't.
No worries, no worries. So because it's khabar, it's going to be dhamma, marfu', imamu, right? What we're saying is that abuhum, mubtada, marfu', imamu, khabar, marfu', hadha al-masjidi. Right? Recall that when we have mudaf, mudaf ilay, the first word, the mudaf, the thing that's possessed, can be anything. It can be dhamma, can be fatha, can be kasra, depending on where it's at in the sentence. Here, it's the very first word of the khabar, and so it is going to be marfu'. There's nothing before it that would have made it majroor. Whereas masjid is the mudaf ilay. That's the second part, and we said that the mudaf ilay, the rule is that it has to be majroor. And do not get thrown off by hadha, because hadha here is just the demonstrative pronoun that that specifies which masjid is possessing this imam, or which, better put, which masjid does this imam belong to. Does everybody see that? Is that clear to everybody? This is a nice little review of mudaf mudaf ilay in a kind of an interesting kind of example in construction. Abuhum, their father, mubtada marfu', imamu hadha al-masjidi. خبر مرفوع مضاف إليه. Anyone have any questions about that? Does that make sense? Sort of, kind of? Give me something in the chat. Yes, no, 50%, 30%. Okay. That's a very, very good example. I'm glad that was there because we haven't dealt with mudaf ilayh for a little bit. Number 13, Sheikh family.
هؤلاء الرجل فلاحون من قريتي.
Good. Except it's rijal and not rajul. But that's fine. That's yeah. هؤلاء الرجال فلاحون من قريتي. قريتي, I don't know if we've had this before. قرية, you should be familiar with the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf. This is a village.
So those men are farmers in the village?
Min qaryati, from my village.
From my village, okay.
Yes. Qaryatun. Anybody know the plural of qaryatun? Also in the Quran. Surah al what?
قريتين.
Good guess. That's actual dual. That's dual and not the actual plural. Is it Surah Al-Hashr? Qura. Min ahli al-qura. Right? What is it? ما أفاء الله على رسوله من أهل القرى. Yep, من أهل القرى. فلله وللرسول ولذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل كي لا يكونوا. Yep. قرى is the plural of قرية. قرية is village. Good. So yes, هؤلاء الرجال. Okay, so this is a Sister Asma, this is a جملة اسمية or فعلية?
This is Mia.
Good. Where do we draw the line between the mubtada and the khabar?
What to do? Falahu rajulu.
Yes, exactly.
Rijalu, yeah.
Fantastic, right? What we're talking about, the subject, these men, what do we want to say about them? Are farmers from my village. Fantastic. Very good. Okay. Moving on. Dr. Zia, number 14.
أين طلاب الجدود أخرجوا نعم خرجوا وذهبوا إلى المكتب
Maktabati. Yep.
مكتبتي.
So what does that mean?
Where are these new students?
Mm-hmm.
Did they leave?
Yes, good.
Yes, they left and they went to the classroom.
Maktaba is like, it can be the office, or they went to the maktaba can even be a store. But that's the main idea is kharaju. Did they leave? Yes, we can use hamzatul istifham. We can use the questioning hamza with asma and with af'al. We can use them with nouns and with verbs. Na'am kharaju wa dhahabu. Good. 15, Brother Tamim.
أهؤلاء الأطباء مسلمون. Okay. نعم هم مسلمون.
Fantastic. Good job. And I'm really glad that Brother Tamim had doubt, because this gives me an opportunity to review the sound masculine plural What is the sign of the sound masculine plural being marfu'? It is not on the last letter, which is what we're used to seeing. It is the waw, right? Muslimuna. And if it's majroor or mansub, as we'll learn later, it will be muslimina. Allahumma ghfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat. Right? So the noon with the fatha is fixed. Not going to change, except for when it changes, which we'll talk about later. But right now, it's not going to change. What is going to change is the waw. So the waw here is what makes it marfu'. Okay, na'am hum muslimuna. Good. And last one, number 16, Sister Musarrat.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't unmute. لي أبناء صغار بعضهم في المدرسة في المدرسة الابتدائية
Good.
وبعضهم في المدرسة المتوسطة.
You got the tongue twister, mashallah.
Yeah, I have small young sons.
Yes.
Some of them are in primary school, and others, some, I don't know, and others of them, some of them are in middle school.
Fantastic.
Is this middle school? What's up?
Yes.
Yeah, middle school.
Yes, exactly. Very good, very good. And yes, ba'duhum wa ba'duhum, as a construction, it doesn't really translate 100% to English. We could say some of them and some of them, right?
We would say some of them and the rest, no, or something like that.
It could be, but
or some of them and
necessarily imply the rest. There could be other sons that he's not
that are not mentioned.
Yeah, maybe he did.
That are not sigarun.
Yeah, it's possible, right? So we don't know 100%, but maybe something like some of them are in this school and some of them are in that school. Ibtida'iyya, okay, comes from the 3-letter root ba, dal,
Bida.
which is to begin. Bada'a means to begin, which is where we get beginners or primary. Al-badi', right?
Bidaya wa nihaya.
That's right, bidaya, right? The beginning. Wa nihaya, the famous work by Ibn Kathir, right? So that's the root word here. And the root word here is, as we've said before, wasatu, waw sin ta, which means the middle. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. Very good. That we're over time. That was a very good exercise. Anyone have any questions about anything before we depart?
When will we do the translation thing?
The translation, I apologize for all the delay. Like I said, there was a delay when it came.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
No, yeah, we're going to start within the next week or two, inshallah. We just have to find a time that's suitable to everybody. I need to respect, my wife's time as well and try to not, add it at an inconvenient time. So after the Eid, I'm just trying to find a time that's makes everyone happy.
How much time would we need? Could we do half a class? Like,
It can be whatever we want it to be. It can be 20 minutes. It can be 30 minutes. It does not have to be.
Could we do half a class on a Saturday and thus not take more of your time? But I don't know how others feel.
Well, I would be hesitant to do that just because it will be fairly advanced, and translation is a different type of work than learning the language. And so I wouldn't want to, for me, it would feel like a bait and switch. It's like I got you all to sign up for the Arabic class, and now we're going to do something slightly different. So I think I'll leave that intact. And what I might just do is I might just tack on maybe just 20 minutes or something like that onto one of the periods. I think that would be, more acceptable than tacking on an entire extra period, right, of 45 minutes, which would be kind of, exhausting. So if anyone strongly disagrees with that, then please let me know. But I think that's what I'm leaning towards, inshallah ta'ala.
And it's not something we could do on our own, right? Like we would need to do it in a group setting.
Well, there are some things that can be kind of like take home assignments, right? Like I could,
Yeah.
we can give out part of the audio clips. And actually, I think that's eventually a really good thing to do, to see how people translate it themselves and then to compare notes, because translation is not a science, right? It's not, there's not one way to translate from one language to another. There's multiple ways. And collective translation is actually a really useful project because everybody kind of has insight as to a different shade or inflection or dimension of what's trying to be said. And there's so many different possibilities and choices that you have to make as a translator. So that could be, once we get the ball rolling on it, I think that would be actually a good thing to do, is to try to give a text, maybe at the end of the class period, send people home with it, say, take a shot, grab your dictionary, use what you know of grammar, take your best shot. And when we come back the following week, let's compare notes and let's see and let's explore. I think that would be, that's maybe the way forward, inshallah. But look out for an email for that within the week or a week and a half, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, I won't take up any more of your time today. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention and time. And may Allah reward you. And I'll see you next time, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.